When we're coaching beginners in the discus throw, the biggest thing that we have to establish is one, we got to let these kids have a lot of fun. Two, we need to make sure that everything's safe. And then three, establish a rhythm. Okay, so the first big aspect is that when we're teaching this and we're focusing on enjoyment and having fun, I like to get the athletes to doing a full spin as quickly as possible. Okay, so what that means is we're gonna teach them how to do standing throws, okay? So we wanna do standing throws where we're having our fixed feet and we're just focusing on rotating and finishing, okay? Rotate and finish. And one big factor that we're gonna talk about is we like to use that drill progression. The drill progression, we're gonna have its own video, but we're gonna focus on doing a standing throw, doing a banded stand, going into a big step, into a spin, into the non-reverse, and then into that full spin. Okay, so those are the simple drill progressions, which we will go into even further. But the big aspect is having that standing throw and cueing the fact that we want simple concepts. Okay, we want the left hand almost in line with that right foot here. Okay, we want the discus back. We want to start from that point. We want to think long and go and stay here. Okay, we don't want to be falling all over the place. One big thing that you're going to tend to see is kids are going to bring this in and they're going to come forward to throw. Have them just focus on being as long as possible as they rotate. Okay, so that's the first big aspect there, is that we want to focus on dialing in that finish, and then that immediately can transfer to, okay, just hold on to the discus now. We're gonna come to the back of the circle, and I want you to think about that spin. Boom, and we just wanna walk through it, 20, 30, 40%. Hold on to the discus, think about the discus staying behind the hip, boom, and just pause in that power position. And we can go through that 10 or 15 times. Kids like when you give them a challenge of, hey, hold the discus. I want you to think about a long right leg, okay? Have that nice long right leg, and we're just going through simple concepts. Double support, long right leg, single support, double support, pause. Can they do that 15 times in a row without falling all over the place? That's a challenge. Kids like challenges. You got to do 15 to then make that progress to the next step. This becomes a game. And then that next step would be after we do those pauses for 15, now we can just go into the drop off. Okay, so we actually hold the discus, boom, and we just drop it off, easy. Okay, so that's the fun aspect. Okay, the next thing is just establishing that rhythm off of that. Okay, we need to get through the point where we want to be double support, single support here, double support here, and have a nice rhythm, okay? And one thing that you can do with beginners is just have them out in the field throwing back and forth, making sure that the discus is coming off their index finger or their ring or their middle finger, preferably the index finger on release, okay? So it's not coming out backwards. And they can just go out and take 100 throws back and forth, almost like a long toss scenario you would see in baseball. This is where you can do that just to get that release for beginners to feel, okay? Now, when we're talking about safety, no one's around the circle, okay? There should be nets here, net here. Okay, so if you have a lefty, no one can get hit over on this side, no one can get a hit over on this side. We should be inside of a cage. If you're outside throwing in a field, same situation. I don't want anyone super close. I want 50 to 100 feet between people so that we can have a line. And we're just throwing easy. Tell the kids, easy, easy, easy. So we need to make sure that those safety precautions are taken, but ultimately it comes down to having fun and establishing that rhythm. Start with that simple standing throw progression. We can work through the drill progression, but then use that challenge, gamify everything. Get in the circle. They've got to do that spin, pause, 15 without falling over the place. So it's just here, boom, pause, throw, okay? 15 of those, and then if they do that, now they can start to release 30, 40, 50%, and we just keep reiterating. This is about learning the technique, learning the movement. We don't need to try hard. We need to just dial in our brains and focus on that technique and build up that rhythm over time. The bombs will come later on.